Welcome to the Westborough Affordable Housing Trust and Housing Partnership Committee meeting of Friday, April 11, 2024. It's 9 a.m. We're in Memorial Hall in Town Hall. We will be doing a remote session with one of our members, so we will need to do a roll call. So roll call votes that we assemble as such. So all those do we need to name the name? No. All those in favor? Raise your hand. Okay. And Steve? Steve, can you hear us? Yeah, he raised his hand. All right. So we have, six being present.
Just fine.
And we have a quorum. The first thing on the agenda is our HP, what we call our HB cottages, which stands for the High Street and Beach Street cottages. And we have some concept plans that Waterman Associates has prepared, Design Associates has prepared, and if we could show those, they're coming up. All right, there were 5 plans, and Mike, I don't know if you want to talk to us. You can see them from there.
Good morning, everyone.
They're in your packet, so that might make it a little easier to go through. I don't know if they're in the same order. I'll try to do it.
Right.
But
yes, I'm Mike Grossworth with WDA. I'm the senior landscape architect and project director for this one. So we came up, we met and came up with on High Street with actually I think 4 concepts for this, using basically a 1,400 square foot duplex, 2-story, so basically about a 725 square foot footprint, a 30 by 25. The first one you're looking at, let me just get my notes.
I don't know if we have them numbered anywhere on the...
Yeah, they're on the bottom. So that one is actually concept D, so that's fine. Oh, we're switching back. Okay, there's A. All right, so we looked at this in a few different ways. This is a concept A. This is more of a kind of a garden style where we would have the parking as you come in off of High Street. Parking would all be in one central location with the handicap space, and then connecting walkways to the units. We're staying out of that sewer easement, though we did find out that one of those sewer lines is an abandoned line, so that helps us out with our placement. We don't have to worry about getting in the way of anything, but we are staying out of the easement with all the footprints. But this one allows for some good green areas, some areas for retention, some recreation area in the back, retaining a lot of the existing trees as much as possible. There will be some pretty good amount of fill because of that big depression that was dug out, I don't know how long ago, but that big hole in the middle. So that'll be filled in. But these are arranged along a couple of connecting walkways, so people would park centrally and then walk to the units. So we've got a total of 6 units on this site with 15 parking spaces, including a handicap.
And for fire access.
Fire would be able to pull in.
And circle around.
Well, there's no circle. They would pull in and then be able to back out there. Or they can get on the street. That does also leave some additional guest parking along the street if it was needed.
Right.
So these are typically, I know the setback is normally 50 feet, I believe, but as this is going to be a 40B, we're pushing that up to about 25 feet. Yeah. Everything else is going to stay pretty much within regulations.
Right. And you have some plantings at the very bottom.
Yeah, there'll be some plantings around the perimeter, some additional buffering to the houses to either side, and the development in the rear.
Okay.
Most of those concepts will have that similar buffer plantings.
So where is the replacement of the wetlands?
They're on the wetlands.
We don't have to replace wetlands. We've since had conversations with the conservation
Yeah.
agent.
Just begin the mic. So that
Yeah,
people-
we've since had conversation with the conservation agent, WDA's wildlife biologist has talked with the
Brian Waterman.
Brian, talked with the conservation agent, and they've agreed we don't need to replicate
Yeah.
wetlands.
We're not
Okay.
interfering with any, so.
I'm not
That was-
sure, but
that was good news
I
to hear.
believe it's because the big depression in the middle of the property appears to be man-made as opposed to natural, so it's
Yeah.
not a natural wetland.
It was
There's
dug.
some technicalities that allow us not to have
Yeah.
to replicate.
Okay,
Yeah, it was dug out, yeah.
that's good news.
Can I just
Yep.
say something? I used to live over there, and there was a guy who basically turned it into like a motocross track at one point.
Yeah.
It's one of the neighbors, and I don't know who it was, but it was kind of odd that he had dug it all out with.
Oh, he
some-
dug it, all right.
He dug it out, okay. I mean, it's hard to
I don't
tell.
want to point fingers, but I know he was using it that way, and it looked like it was man-made.
Yeah.
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 Yeah,
You
oh,
need
yeah,
a
no,
little extra dirt.
We'll need to just reconfirm that with the
Yeah,
conservation
I'm
folks.
pretty sure the neighbors.
But we don't expect
Didn't
we'll have
like
to
it.
replicate, which is a big help.
But there is existing wetlands on
Yes.
the left side of the property.
Right, the
Yeah.
northwest
Midway.
side.
We're well out of any buffer zone.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any other questions on this first? Yes.
Well, it's probably going to apply to a few of these, and I'm late to the game on this, but dumpster or individual trash pickup, or how is that going to work?
That we have not really gotten to
Right.
that point yet.
This would be created as a condo complex. Just, I'm
Right,
just
and
throwing that in.
normally-
It doesn't answer your
Oh,
question.
okay.
Yeah, normally condos would have a dumpster for the residents,
Yeah.
so I'm just wondering if that's going to go in here, or
A
if they're
lot of
going
them,
to
I
have.
mean, a lot of them have individual pickup. I mean, you could require the homeowners to bring it to the street.
Right, it just ends up being,
Yeah.
6
Yeah.
different cans.
So
and
that's
yeah,
something
or
to put
some
on
of
the
them
There-
punch
might
there-
want-
list,
yeah.
Mike.
They want to
There is-
recycle. I mean,
Yeah, some of
that's-
them might want to just
Yep.
get
Also,
the trash sticker.
I
That's
think-
certainly a question that the ZBA and the planning people are going to ask.
Again,
Yeah,
I'm just
as
trying
we-
to,
Great.
get ahead on that.
Yep.
Yeah.
Same thing goes with snow storage. That'll be
Yep.
a question that gets asked.
Yeah, snow storage, I think we have area in the back that would handle that. But yeah, dumpster, as we go
Okay.
further, as we develop one or more of these concepts, that would be something we would definitely.
We're just trying to
at.
look at different concepts to get an idea of,
Sure.
density, layout.
Yeah, but we got slightly less than a half an acre.
I think maybe I'm getting too nitpicky.
no,
We're
this-
too early.
No,
No,
something,
no, no.
I'm
It's
glad
just-
you brought that up.
Because-
Give it, the purpose of this meeting, of this section of our meeting, is to introduce this to everybody.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay, because they've just come up with this, only Hank and I have seen it, to start to give people this, and they can start to then generate lists of what if, or I like this,
Yeah.
I don't
We can
like
narrow it
that.
down.
So we're picking one, we were trying to decide on a concept and then move forward.
Well, we don't have to choose. I mean,
we
what
don't-
we're
not
looking to get
today.
is,
Okay,
we
got it.
we got 5 concepts here that it runs anywhere from 5 to 7 units
Got
on
it.
the property.
Got it.
We need to say, hey, which 2 or possibly 3 concepts
Right.
would we like to take forward for informal conversations with all kinds of regulatory bodies in the community to get feedback to see. We've got to eventually come up with a concept that we think has a high probability of being permitted.
Yeah,
Because we do not intend to permit it ourselves.
yeah,
We intend to go out for an RFP and the developer will have to permit it.
okay.
So
Understood.
just a few comments about this concept. So one is we've thought about having this be a mix of family and senior housing. There's concern about the parking being a distance walk to all the units.
Right.
Also, going back to the original 2 concepts we had a year ago, the feedback, when we went to the business one-stop, the feedback for those concepts was that the driveway was too long with respect to an ambulance backing out. And so for this concept, having that long driveway where there's not a guaranteed turnaround spot for fire truck and ambulance could be an issue. And also making sure that if, there's also an issue with 2-story buildings, them not being reachable by the tower truck. Whereas a single-story building, they're okay with ground ladders, but a 2-story building, they would want to be able to access the roof from the tower unit. And if the position of the roadway isn't wide enough for the tower truck with the outriggers extended. So I'm not sure that this is as viable.
Yeah. So
as
these
from
are-
a safety issue.
If Mark
so-
can take down these
Yeah.
as we talk, and then,
Okay.
we can get a feedback and
Sure.
say, yeah, maybe this isn't the right one. I'm not trying
No,
to
no, no, no,
preempt
I'm just,
anything,
no, no, I'm just,
but these are, Why don't we move on, just in the
Okay.
sense of time, because we do have a lot on our agenda. So the next one,
Right, then we got to, we're doing the Earth Day cleanup down conference, so I got to get back and collect trash too. So, okay, so that's concept B. So this one is a little more townhome style, same type units, but this one would have parking out in front of basically each unit, some additional spaces there at the end. Again, trying to stay at one point as with 150 feet. I mean, the driveway itself is longer than that, but at one point, the last unit is is 150 feet from the road, which is about the maximum that the
Right.
fire department will back out. This one with drainage would more than likely be detention structure underneath the road. But again, as far as garbage is concerned, the area in between or right after that second unit on the left be an ideal place for a dumpster. So this one has a little more flexibility for things like that, but this one's a little bit more of a townhome style, and gets five duplexes.
okay, so similar questions, but.
Yep.
Yep,
Yeah.
okay. This would be 5 units, as we said. Any questions on this, or points to be made, or? I mean, the driveways are, if we do seniors, benefits here are there's pull-ins
Yeah.
Right.
right
They're
in
right in
front
front.
of the house, so that would be a benefit. Okay.
Yes.
All right, want to go on to the next one, Mike?
And this one would be C. Again, this one's got a little bit more of an urban feel to it. It's a little more straight and angular. This one we did for fire access, a fire lane, a hammerhead turnaround. We did run a quick truck through it. Should be able to maneuver in that hammerhead at the end. Again, this one will have parking in front of each unit. This one yielded actually 7. And again, connecting walkways, good area for snow. It's got a decent area. We could easily put a dumpster there at the end of the hammerhead if need be. And
And you're saying the hammerhead is?
the hammerhead is that
Right.
T intercept, T at the
Yeah.
end, yeah,
Yeah.
where the fire truck will
Where the
pull
T
in,
is.
pull to one side, back out, and then pull straight out. Make like a 3-point turn up
Yep.
at the top.
Okay.
Okay.
It's all 2-story, they're all the same unit, yes.
So this has 7 units.
Right. They're all a 1,400 square foot, 2-story. But we
Two-story,
use
right.
like a 725 square foot footprint.
Now,
You gotta think
what,
of it as being 700 square foot footprints. You could make them 2-story, you can make them 1-story, you can make them a half.
Right.
You can make them
Yeah.
a split entry, you can make anything you want. What
In that
matters for
footprint.
this part of the conversation is the footprint. You can
Right.
fit the footprint, sure. So with a 700 square foot footprint, you can easily put a 1,400 square foot, even a 1,500 square foot house.
right.
Yep.
You know, no
2 stories,
garages,
yep.
no
Right,
garages,
and,
no.
you know, if we wanted to, in something like this, if we wanted to make a couple, because it has a higher number of footprints,
You could.
if we wanted to put a couple
You could put a
of
mix.
senior, right,
I mean,
Yeah.
you put a-
senior units,
Well, I mean, again, Ed, I would resist calling them senior units in
Well,
public because
I'm
we're
sorry.
not gonna age restrict it.
We're-
Unless you want to age restrict it over age 62, which I don't recommend, we're not gonna age restrict
my,
the units.
my point, I got you.
Okay,
We may want to have one story for
Right.
easier access for
Right.
either
Sure.
And
ADA and/or.
right.
these are,
Agree.
yeah, these are nice. They're pushed back a little further off the parking, allows for a little more green space in between the parking in the unit.
Okay.
So the other ones are a little tighter in, which gives you a little more buffer in the back and allows a little more flexibility, like patios and things like that in the back of the units if you wanted. But yeah, this would have the same, I'm understanding the same kind of things that we would need to further look at, trash pickup and make sure fire and snow access or snow removal is easy.
When we move on to the
And
next
the
one.
last one.
Okay.
Concept D, Again, this one's a little bit more garden style with the areas are the units are a little more in pockets. So this one's got a lot more green space. This one has also the same kind of, the fire truck would pull into the end, back out, and then pull out to the front. They back and go all the way through the parking, back out that way, and come out. Again, this one's 5 units, and definitely gives you a little bit more secluded areas, but the parking is pretty close by to each unit. Not right in front, but close. So this one gives you a lot more green open space.
Yep. But they would still be walking from that parking at the
Yeah,
upper
short walk.
right to
Yeah,
the
yeah.
units.
Usually less than 100 feet.
Yeah.
So not a very long walk.
Okay, questions or?
That's the 4.
We'll get, I mean, well, you have it in the packet. We also have, and maybe afterwards, if people want to take a little closer
Full-size-
look, we'll
Yeah.
size
spread
sheets.
these out after the
Sure.
meeting, so we can't deliberate on them or discuss them in a deliberation mode, but at least people, if they want to see a little bit more close-ups, we have the 24 by 36.
And feel
prints.
free, we're available if you have any questions. Give us a call. And happy to take care of you.
So what we can do, now that we have a staff person, is if people have questions or comments or preferences,
Krista.
email them to Kristen only,
Yes.
and she can collate them
Okay.
and then present them to the working group.
Yep. And if people can, in the order in which we've just gone through, assume 1, 2, 3,
Yeah.
4, from your packets,
Yeah.
notate what
Yeah.
you send to Kristen. Say, on number 2, how do we deal with, or things like that. Fair
Yeah,
enough?
that's all important things we need to,
Yep.
address as we move forward. Absolutely.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. We
That's
done?
it. Thank you. Thank you. This is, I don't know, this is encouraging. I mean,
Yes.
we're obviously, making headway on the, on
with-
getting
with-
some closer designs and able to,
It seems
towards,
very.
once again,
yeah.
we're trying to get to a point where we can eliminate as much as possible unknowns,
Mm-hmm.
and also create desires for the creation of an RFP for a
Yeah.
land developer.
Very
for
minor
the
tweaks, I
appropriate
think.
layout.
Yeah, with very minor tweaks to these, I think we can get one or a couple developed into a pretty nice plan. So,
Okay,
all right.
great.
Thank you very much.
All right, thank you. Okay, moving on, we're going to, we as just for the public's knowledge, the Affordable Housing Trust has been combined in whole with the Housing Partnership Committee per a vote of town meeting last fall, I believe it was. And as a result, we're going to recess from our trust meeting, and we're going to open up the meeting as a Housing Partnership Committee meeting. Generally, the difference is, on a very rough basis, is the Affordable Housing Trust tends to initiate and create housing. The partnership's goal is to work with developers, to assist them, guide them, do whatever we need to do to promote the creation of more affordable housing trust. Since the skill set is very, very similar, the town meeting saw it appropriate to combine the both. So I'm officially opening the Housing Partnership Committee. Do we need to do a roll call?
We need a motion.
We need a motion.
I move we,
Wait,
Wait,
We have the
Alan,
motion
go
written?
ahead,
Good.
Alan.
I got one drafted. So move to recess this meeting of the Westborough Affordable Housing Trust such that the trust acting as a committee of the whole shall convene and conduct a meeting of the Housing Partnership Committee with the meeting of the trust to reconvene upon adjournment of the Housing Partnership Committee meeting.
Okay, second.
second.
All those in, any discussion? No, all those in,
You have to do a roll call.
yeah, we have to do the roll call, okay.
We forgot to ask Steve if he had comments on that.
Okay.
He can send those.
Yeah, if,
Yeah, no, I got all that.
was that Steve?
That was
Yeah.
Steve.
Oh,
Yes.
okay.
Hi.
No, you're very loud. That was
Yeah,
it,
but you gotta turn it down here on this end,
Yeah.
not on his.
on your gain.
Not on
Yeah.
his end.
Okay, all those in favor, raise your hands.
You have to do a roll call.
Okay,
Roll call, yeah.
go
Aye.
ahead, start. Sarah, start.
In favor, yes, aye.
Rundo, in favor.
Edinburgh, yes.
Bain, yes.
Roush, yes.
Silverberg, yes.
Okay. Steve? Herrera, yes?
Herrera, yes.
Okay, good. All right, so we have six being in agreement. Okay, so we're opened here. And we have a discussion on Hannah Place. It's an LAU agreement with Mr. Ansari, Farouk Ansari. Welcome.
Hi, how are you? My name is Farouk Ansari. I am the trustee of this proposed project that we have made. It is a 19-unit building approved by the planning board, and we are now currently looking for your signature on it so we can send it along to the EOHLC. So having said that, out of those 19 units, we have 4 affordable units. One bedroom, two bedrooms, and 1 3 bedrooms. So we are hoping to get your blessings on it so we can move it along to the selectmen and then off to EOHLC, which is the old DHCD, as you might know.
Yes.
Yeah.
We know that quite well now, but thank you.
Yeah.
Question, we had it in your pack, we had all the information. Kristen included it in with the LAU, as well as the, a lot of backup, et cetera, deeds, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But I'll open it up for questions.
Just want to clarify it. My reading of the submission is that four of the units will count toward the SHI. The remaining 15 will not count toward the SHI. Is that correct?
That is correct, since it
And-
is less than 25%.
Okay, and that's in line with the planning board finding.
Yes.
Yeah,
Okay. No problem then.
no questions on that.
So, thank you for pulling together a complete or nearly complete LAU application. The one piece of information that's not here is the certificate of good standing. For the corporation, you've got the summary page from the corporate database search that shows Hannah Place LLC legally exists, but the tax good standing form isn't included.
Yeah, let me clarify that through the chairman.
Sure.
We had a parcel of land on the other side of 135 and the courthouse. And that was a project that we were developing, and we called that Hannah Place at the time. Now, we have made an arrangement with the planning board where that parcel would be the sending parcel to get this approved. I wanted to save the name of that Hannah
Okay.
Place and apply towards that. There's nothing else,
Right.
Uh,
No, I understand
We
all that.
understand
It's
the
just-
swap and everything.
It's just there's literally one piece of paper that will cause HLC to reject the application, which is a certificate of good standing. So if you go into the Secretary of State and you look up Hannah Place LLC, you get the summary page, even the way it was included in the packet. In the upper right corner, there's request a certificate. If you click and say request a certificate of good standing, I think it's a $20 fee. They'll email it or mail it to you. If you could do that and just get that added to this application, that would be important.
I have already done that. We already have a certificate of good standing for Hannah Place. When I was giving the land to the town, they had asked me, the attorney, the council had asked me to go get that certificate of good standing. So we have it here somewhere. It's already been gotten.
Okay, then it needs to be added to the packet.
Right, we just need to see it.
So what I would suggest is that we would, but everything else looks correct and complete.
I'll add it. I have it
So-
right on my phone. I can print it
So
out.
we would just make the motion where we'd authorize the chair to sign, pending just receipt of a copy of that.
No problem.
And that should be easy to do prior, because I know you're trying to get on another select board agenda to get them to sign off as well,
Thank you.
and that's moving forward.
Okay.
Yeah, this next select board meeting is until the 29th, so there's some time to get that if you.
I already
can.
have it, so
Yeah,
I'll give
so
it to her.
that's fine. Just get it to Ed and.
Yeah. So.
All right, so Alan, we have a motion
Right,
that
so-
you're going to read.
I move to approve the local initiative program application for local action units at Hannah Place.
Can I ask questions before?
Oh,
we-
sure, I'm sorry.
Okay.
Well, we have the motion, make the motion, and then we'll have discussion.
So, I know this is,
Point of order, go ahead.
yeah, no, I mean, I'm sorry, go ahead if you want to make the motion.
Yeah,
but
finish the motion.
Finish the motion, and then we'll have discussion.
So I move to approve the local initiative program application for local action units at Hannah Place. 2 Dania Drive, Westborough, Mass. 01581 is submitted by Hannah Place LLC. And further to authorize the Housing Partnership Chair to sign the application pending receipt of the certificate of good standing.
Second.
Okay, so now we're open for discussion.
So,
Questions?
I know in the past, developers have had discussions with the Affordable Housing Trust about increasing the affordable percentage.
Yes.
Has that taken place on this? 'Cause
We have, no,
You know, I
we-
know it's intended to be a rental property,
correct.
and it looks like one more unit might make all of those units eligible for SHI?
Yes, if we went to 5 units and it was a 19 total unit, then that would be above the 25%, which would then allow us to claim all the units. We have in the past in larger developments,
Right.
just because of the amount of additional SHI, just the
Sure.
physical number, we would get a big benefit, such as Westborough Shopping Center.
Right, I just didn't know if that had taken place
We
on
had,
this. or-
yeah, no, we
Okay.
really didn't get into discussion at this side.
So Ed,
thing.
if we wanted to have that discussion after we approve the LAU application, can the LAU application be amended while it's in process of being approved if we want to have that conversation and negotiation?
Yes.
Yeah, I have
So-
no idea if the developer's even interested in pursuing
Right,
that, but.
We would
I
have
just
to
did-
subsidize
I mean,
to
I-
make
so-
it worth their while.
Yeah, he's only required to do the 20%. but
Correct.
One more unit would get us all 19,
Yeah.
and I think that would be
We
beneficial.
would
Yeah.
have 19, we would get another dozen.
Yeah, I suggest we consider it as two possible actions. We authorize the chair to sign it, and then authorize the chair to initiate negotiations to increase the units from 4 to
It-
5,
So just,
and come back at the next meeting and tell us whether that makes sense.
Okay.
excellent. Just for Mr. Farouk's edification, what we've done with other rental developments is we've looked at their financial plan and capitalization table, and we've been able to come up with a dollar amount of subsidy that, if invested, should generally cover the rental difference between the affordable unit rent and the market rate rent, as a way of subsidizing an increase of the affordable component from 20% to 25%. And so if that's something you're interested in,
We can talk.
you're hearing from the trust that we're willing to have that conversation.
We want to keep the developer whole,
Right.
but at the same
other
time,
words,
our side,
And it does,
So to dumb it down, the trust would essentially pay the developer some undisclosed or undetermined as yet the sum of money in exchange for increasing
Right.
from 4 units
We can
to
have that
5.
conversation.
yeah, we can have
okay.
that conversation, but.
You got to dumb things down for me now, Alan.
Yes, thank you. I'm usually the one that dumbs things down because I'm.
Well, Ed, I understand when you talk.
I
Alan-
have, that's my wheelhouse.
Alan
no.
uses big words.
Thank you. All right, so we have a motion. Any other discussions, questions? All right, we have a motion, a second. All those in favor of as the motion stands?
roll call.
We got to do a
Roll
roll call. So
Rundell, yes.
Edinburgh, yes?
Bain, yes.
Roush, yes?
Silverberg, yes.
Okay, Steve?
Ferraro, yes.
Yeah. Okay, so we have 6.
Do we need a motion for the other half now, or do we
No,
just?
No, no, no,
Or
no.
do we just let you go do it?
So,
We've given Ed.
right,
The
I will
idea that
sign.
we'd
I've
like
been
him to
duly
do that,
authorized to sign.
Right, you're authorized to sign, and we're also requesting that you initiate a conversation to see if
Right.
there's any interest in increasing the SHI.
Right, and we can do that,
And you can do that without a motion.
correct.
Good, let's go.
I like it.
So,
moving.
once I have that,
Signature, yeah.
Technicalities.
good standing, we're set to go and I'll sign it.
Okay, good. So
You know,
I pick it up from
immediately. You
Kristen,
can
right?
coordinate
Yes.
through Kristen.
Yeah, okay.
Yep.
I can
Great.
go now?
Great.
Yes,
This is
thank you
great.
very
We're
much.
we're getting, it looks like it's a nice
Yes.
location there, and,
Yes.
you know, we just need more housing in general, both affordable and
Yes.
market.
If I wanted to have this is done now, right? I
Yes.
just have a question totally separate.
Sure.
If I have a parcel of land that may not necessarily comply with all the zoning, especially for the frontage, but is a very usable land, who do I need to talk to if I wanted to convert that into affordable units? Is that any specific pathway?
Well, you could start with us, and then we'll pull in people as necessary between planning and others, but if you have,
So I make a submission to you through her, and then we come back and talk here? Is that
Yeah.
how?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, we can set up a time, you know, even just to have coffee with a couple of us and sort of
Okay.
talk it through.
How big is a parcel? Drew?
It's about 2.5 acres.
Yeah.
A little over 2 acres, so
That's good
I've
size.
already done my homework on it.
Oh, I know the parcel, yeah.
He knows everything.
I know.
He knows everything, so. Okay.
You met him before once or twice.
So,
All right.
Yes.
then that would be a
Thank you.
function of the Housing Partnership Committee.
Right. That would be Housing Partnership Committee.
Yes, okay.
Okay, great.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on. We have discussion on local option tax exemption, which Alan's going to dive into. There's some material in your packet.
So, last year, the Commonwealth enacted Mass General Law, Chapter 59, Section 5O. That's the letter O, not the number 0. I looked for it for a long time before I realized that was the case, which allows local municipalities to offer property tax exemptions for affordable housing rental units. The law establishes a general set of rules and limits and empowers the municipality to enact regulations within those rules and limits to put together a program. So if adopted, this exemption could incent property owners to convert market rate units to affordable housing units by offsetting the revenue losses for lower rents with the tax exemption. The objective at this point in bringing it forth is to see if this is something the trust is interested in, recommending that the town do, and to draft the necessary bylaws and even a set of draft rules and regulations such that the town is comfortable with the program parameters. The goal would be to bring this to fall town meeting in October of this year. In the packet, there's some information. One is a copy of the law. And so, basically it's the town determines what is the affordable housing rate for the unit, and any rules around what would qualify as a property, but it does have to be rented on a yearly basis, so it can't be month to month. And it has to be occupied year-round by a person or persons whose household incomes does not exceed an amount to be set by the city or town. However, that can't be more than 200% of area median income. So the tax exemption can go to workforce housing units, as well as affordable units. There's no requirement that the units be SHI compliant or would get registered as SHI, but that could be a consideration as well. Additionally, the amount of the tax exemption on a percentage basis could be tied to the level of AMI household income that the rents are targeting. And so, but the maximum exemption is basically the full value of the proportionate property tax based on the livable space of the unit. So if you have a 4-unit apartment building, and all 4 units are the same size, 1 unit becomes affordable under this program, the maximum tax credit could be 25%.
Right.
because it's 25% of the square footage.
And-
Now, you could say, for example, that if it's at 80% AMI, it's 100% credit. If it's up to 120 or 150% AMI, it's an 80% or 75% credit. We can build those rules.
Right, to protect the tax base, okay. So, to dumb it down, it's basically a way to create some more affordable units and I would expect this might come down to people that have, 3 or 4 unit, housing, multifamily housing. But there are some also small apartment buildings that might want to take advantage of this, that have a small number of units and would desire to get a reduction on their taxes or a portion of their taxes by putting one of their units under this program. I think one of the benefits of this is it doesn't have to go through EOHLC. It's a town, can be driven by the town. So some of the SHI conditions and inspections and things like that might not be necessary, but
And that would be a decision that we would make, because you could set it up so that units do end up on the SHI inventory.
Right.
And you can, now we might feel that if we pursue this, we might feel that's too restrictive and would be counterintuitive. In addition to small apartment buildings, this could also apply to accessory dwelling units. So someone could put up an ADU on their property and say, you know what, I'm going to rent this out as affordable, basically offset
the
a
tax on
percentage
that.
of the property taxes for the property, which now has the 2 dwelling units on it, the primary and the ADU. And financially, that could be a good thing for the homeowner, as well as creating more affordable rental units.
Do we know if this question, I'll go around, is it the total real estate value, i.e. both land and improvements, i.e. buildings?
Yeah.
Or is it just on the building value?
It's the property.
Property,
Total
total
property.
property, okay.
Alan, I really like that point because the ADU bylaw, the ADU law, state law, was intended to encourage affordability for people to stay in their homes, also encourage more housing. And
Right.
to me, if we can offer a tax break for somebody who's building an ADU, that just enables them to, the ADU is going to increase their value, so that might discourage people from building an ADU, but the tax break would kind of offset that. So
Right.
I
Right.
like that point.
Now, in the.
Other
Sorry, go ahead.
questions?
I was gonna say, do we have a sense on if other communities have already implemented this, given that it's a very new law? I don't know if you've had any.
There
come
are
across
a
anything
few.
so
So
far.
in the
Yeah,
packet
Yeah.
is information from Egremont
Oh,
out in the
yes.
Berkshires.
Yep.
They enacted,
Oh, yes, yep.
they accepted, what they did is they just accepted the state law as the town bylaw without writing a separate bylaw.
Yeah. that
And
was
so
good.
the select board will then have to create the rules and regulations. My view is that, that if we were gonna accept this, accept the state law as a town bylaw, that we would also want a town bylaw that sets some additional parameters. So, for example, in Egremont, at this point, any affordable rental unit could potentially qualify for this. My view is that this should be for affordable rental units that aren't otherwise required by zoning, by permit, by HAC decision, by legal settlement,
40Bs.
40Bs, et cetera, so that what we're incenting is the creation of affordable units that wouldn't otherwise have to be created.
Although, do we want to limit it like that? Isn't there something to be said for both allowing the tax exemption and whatever other programs? Just,
Point over,
Yeah.
could we stay focused on whether or not we want to appoint a working group?
Yeah,
As
that's
opposed
really
that
the
was gonna
motion.
be my
Because,
next,
I mean, I could spend the rest of my life talking about this issue if you want to talk about the issue.
I think you just volunteered to be on the working group.
I support the issue, but I wonder whether, I think the proposal is for the Housing Trust to be the sponsor and appointing authority for a committee to draft a bylaw. And I'm wondering if we're the best sponsor and an appointing group, or whether the select board is a better sponsor and appointing group, and we say, hey, we're willing to put a person or two on the working group. Select board, if you will sponsor it and be the appointing authority, we'd love to work with you.
So I think it's absolutely appropriate for us to be the sponsor of the warrant article. That would bring the 2 warrant articles we would need to accept the state law and to propose a bylaw. We have a select board representative on the trust. We can invite the.
I'm
we
sure
put together a
is
committee to do
itching
this.
to find a working
I mean, I
group to
think-
work on.
I think the goal of creating a working group of the trust would be to, draft a bylaw and an outline of an initial set of regulations to start the discussion.
I mean, you can't do
Because there
that,
are so many,
you can't do
issues
that
involved.
without a lot of support from the town staff. And I'm reluctant for us to take on the task of agreeing to direct the town staff to put resources into this. I think the select board needs to say to the town manager, hey, please have the town staff support, get that authorization.
Like the assessors
To
and-
the, yeah, I mean, the
can-
assessors are gonna be involved, the zoning officer has to be involved,
Yeah,
the
Attorneys.
economic development
I
officer
actually-
has to be involved.
I mean, the assessor needs to be involved.
But we-
I mean,
The
we have to.
treasurer,
we need it- we need-
tax collector.
Right,
All right, well, one at a time.
right,
Hold
we
on,
definitely,
Alan.
okay, we definitely need information and support from town staff. We can ask for that and still
Be
take
the
the lead in advocating for this and pulling it together.
Can I make a recommendation? We form up a working group. They, and I would ask Mark if he would join that working group. Obviously, we have a liaison with the select board that can be brought up as a discussion point. We could come in to explain it in more detail or summarize it and say, we will need support if we want to pursue this as an amendment. As a zoning article or whatever. It wouldn't be a zoning article.
a
It'd
bylaw.
be a
It's gonna be
bylaw.
a bylaw and.
Right.
yeah.
Go ahead,
So I
Mark.
think we could start with a working group, reach out to town manager and so
Yeah.
on, see if there's a sense that we need to form another committee. My feeling is that we form too many committees as a town sometimes, and maybe we could just do a presentation of this, either, the concept as we have it to the select board, and then get their support for moving on and using town resources.
I mean, this morning as I came in here,
Yeah.
I saw a sign on the front door that said that the tax collector's office won't be open on Mondays. What that told me is that we're putting a strain on the town resources, on the town staff.
They needed to catch up.
Right, so I'm probably a little overly sensitive to the availability of town staff, and I see a lot of town staff work, not just going to a meeting and commenting, but actually doing what I'm accustomed to calling real work. So
Yeah, I
would really-
got an email at
really
8
like to be
o'clock
sure.
the other
but I'm
night.
certainly willing to say, hey, we advocate for it, we're in favor of it. We'll even provide financial resources if needed.
Like
But
legal.
we really need the select board and the town manager to say, yes, we have the bandwidth and the staff to support this, and we'll do that.
Yeah, and I agree. I think the first step for the working group should be to convene with town manager and ask,
Yeah.
her thoughts on
Right.
availability of staff
Okay.
at the outset.
All right, let's start this way. If over the next month, Mark, you can, what we call socialize this, get a feeling, then what maybe we can do is bring in additional, maybe Steve or somebody else can bring in, we can bring in to assist from the trust side or the partnership.
I would suggest if we want to move
Yeah.
forward, we create the working group and have the working group start.
No, I agree with that.
Okay,
I volunteer.
Alan's- Yes.
Yeah.
Alan?
you want to be, Alan?
Yep, absolutely.
Okay.
Do we want a
and-
third?
And Mark, why don't just the two of you, I think, to start with.
Wait, Steve?
Steve wants,
I was gonna say, if you want a third,
Well, what is quorum? Is it?
No,
four
Oh,
out of six?
for a working group, we don't need
We
anything.
got 7 members.
We can't do
Yeah.
more than
Seven
3.
members.
So with 3, you can do whatever you want without open meeting law.
Hey, I'm the new
problems.
guy, just asking dumb
That's
questions.
right.
Yep, yep,
Good-
yep.
Good question.
Good question.
You don't wanna
Yeah,
have to
so
post
Steve,
meetings.
yeah, we got your name in the queue.
No, I don't.
All right, good. All right, so I think we have a motion to create a working group to facilitate the discussion and collection of information and availability of resources to.
Alan made that motion?
Did you make a
I think
motion?
you're making it.
Huh?
You're
I'm
making
making
it.
it
You're
now
making it now.
to create the
I
working
second- I
group,
second.
as we've just discussed. Do I have a second?
Yes, I second.
Okay, second. We're going to do a roll call vote.
Rendell, yes.
Edinburgh, yes.
Bain, yes.
Roush, yes.
Silverberg, yes.
Herrera.
Herrera, yes.
Okay, so we have 6 for 6. And we are moving on. Thank you. We're right on time here for project updates. We're only 3 minutes late. Westborough Rental Assistance Program. Do we want to wait for Kate, or, if she's here next meeting, or do you want to?
She asked me to go ahead and present.
Okay, fine.
So-
Let's do it. There's
she
a
actually-
packet,
Pulled together, she worked with Metro West Collaborative Development to pull together the
the numbers.
the numbers in the
Yep.
summary report.
So that's in the packet.
So the Westborough Rental Assistance Program, or RAP, was administered and is being administered under contract with Metro West Collaborative Development as a pilot program offering 2 types of assistance: stabilization, where we could provide up to 2 months' rent due to financial setback or need, and rent mitigation, paying up to $500 a month in rent for up to 4 months to mitigate the impact of burdensome rent increases. To be eligible, households had to be here in Westborough and be at or below the 80% AMI level or the 200% of the poverty level. The program launched late December, and based on feedback from the working group and Metro West Collaborative Development, the working group actually made a couple rounds of modification and adapted the program as it went, really taking advantage of the pilot nature. The first was simplification of the application form and process, reducing the number of pages of the application itself and the amount of historical information required. This made it easier for households to document their needs. The change also dramatically reduced the amount of assistance needed by households through the application process. Our outreach, Julia O'Neill Welch, who's outreach and program coordinator for Westborough Youth and Family Services, was spending a lot of time back and forth with the families trying to get this documentation pulled together. Additionally, the trust voted to modify the program in the end of January to include Westborough Housing Authority tenants as eligible households, based on the fact that we had received valid applications with specific needs there. So over the course of the pilot, a total of 30 stabilization grants were awarded. There were no requests for rent mitigation. The entire $120,000 was spent with an average grant of $4,000 per household. The households served on average 2 individuals, with approximately 36% identifying as non-white. This is reflective of the general demographic of our community. Notably, 17 were single-person households and 13 had children. There was some and 46% of households that included someone aged 55 or older. Some of those 55 or older also were some of the homes with children. There was some overlap there. When we look at a high level at the hardships that families were were under, most cases, 16 included income loss due to job loss or reduction in hours or pay cuts. 8 were due to health issues where they were unable to work or had health expenses that they had to pay where they couldn't pay the rent and get the health issues taken care of. Car repairs, general insufficiency of income, and 2 of the households had received preliminary eviction notices, the intent to file. The average rent was just over $2,000. So what we did, we don't have data saying what the household's rents were relative to their income to look at the burden. but we did look at the rent at 80% AMI, the maximum rent at 30% for burden. 32% of the households exceeded that. And while a number fell below the 30%, we do see that most households face significantly higher actual burdens because of their income versus the eligible income. So we're looking to go back and see if we can pull together to say how each household was burdened for more accurate. The program concluded on March 20th, having expended all of the funds. And so
And
that's
those
a
funds
summary.
were 120,000
Yeah.
in assistance.
Right.
We had some overhead in the administration
And
by
that's,
Metro West.
that's actually the thing that stood out here to me, is that within essentially 3 months, right, we were able to get through 120,000, and then we had to stop the program. There may have been
Right.
many more households who could have been
Oh, yeah.
helped with this, which definitely demonstrates the need for this type of program.
So next step,
So next step, and just one comment on that. What's unclear is if the program were ongoing, if we'd see that sustained level of need, right? Or was there pent-up demand, or pent-up need, I should say, that we addressed, that mitigated? What would be the normal course?
Or
And-
seasonal need, perhaps in the
seasonal
winter
need
when
as
people are
well,
laid off
right.
or have reduced hours.
Yeah. So in Kate and I discussing it as the working group and with Metro West Collaborative Development, feel that we should work to continue the program by seeking grants and other sources of funding rather than core trust funding, which is really intended for the creation of new affordable housing. But that we should also take a step back and review and refine eligibility requirements, such as, when possible, making sure that the assistance is providing rent relief as the primary direct issue rather than a secondary issue to free funds for other challenges that the homeowner might be having. So for example, there are other resources for assistance with medical costs. There are nonprofits in the area that will help with car repairs. There are home heating oil for now. Evidently, everyone's laid off at the federal level, but the LI heat program. So for heat and electricity, there are programs.
that would be more landlord.
That if we could, potentially, if depends who pays the utilities, but it sort of, make sure that as applications come in, that if there's another resource to help with a problem that would enable them to solve that problem without having to get a rent subsidy to use the rent money for that problem, that we would explore that. Of course, setting up guidelines to do that where it doesn't cause undue delay, which causes problems as well. And so those are sort of the two proposed actions, would be to, start looking for grant opportunities for the program to continue, and to take a step back and discuss if we want to make any changes to the eligibility requirements.
We got a lot of data, which is a big help, right?
Yeah.
Of course, to use the data, you got to make the assumption that it's typical, which I don't know what other assumption to make. So you start with that assumption. But what that says is if you're talking 30 families a quarter, because it's been about a quarter, I mean, that's what, 120 families a year? 10 a month? So you're talking about a program that you can sustain supporting 10 families a month, 10 new applicants a month forever, right? That's a big program. That's not a small program. So the reason I go through all those numbers is we need to find an agency or a group of agencies who's willing to commit to identify and put together programs that can sustain 10 families a month, both from a ongoing revenue perspective and an administrative perspective. Got to be a hell of an administrative burden to deal with 10 families a month with the capabilities that we're talking about for families, the problems and age and status. So
Yep.
I don't know whether, I have no idea whether that's Houston Family Services or who that is, but that's a good-sized program.
Agreed. Do I, do I think the 30 families and the time frame we ran would be the rate we would see ongoing? I don't believe so. I don't think we have enough data to know that or to know what it might be. In looking for grants, I'd be looking to, based on this data, looking to expand it. Maybe, not to the 480,000 level that it would imply, but, possibly to, a 300 or 350,000 level. We know that the program in like MetroWest Collaborative Development, for example, could scale the resources and still run the program with, with the overhead, that overhead of administration being in the 12 to 15% range.
Is Metro, again, what it seems to me we need to find an agency that can help us figure out how to sustain, how to go the next step.
Yeah.
We don't have the resources as a housing trust.
Agreed.
So,
youth-
is
youth- I
Metro
think-
West Collaborative Development
I think
that
Youth and
resource?
Family
or
Services, MetroWest Collaborative Development. I think part of this would be, doing research with
Yeah.
MHP, with CHAPA, with the MetroWest Housing Alliance.
We can also look at other towns that if they have similar population and housing, diversity, if you will, to see what they're seeing as demands. Because about 40% of our population are renters. So we're a little larger than you would see in some of our neighboring towns, but probably some other towns in the area might be able to give some ideas of what they're seeing that have rental assistance programs. I think Acton might have one, and we can see what kind of demands they are seeing.
What I'm sensing is
that's
the
just
data-
another point.
The data is telling us that the problem we want to solve, that we believe needs a solution, is larger than what we initially anticipated. We really
Yeah.
don't know how big the problem
Right.
is. We don't know what its dimensions are. We don't understand its cause, so we don't really understand how to effectively address it. So what we need to do is go find grants and resources to go to go capture the next tranche of data.
Right.
With the purpose in mind of defining the problem rather than solving it. We're not going to solve this problem with another $120,000.
No.
The best you can do is start putting in place some long-term agencies, really understand how big the problem is and what it's going to take to solve it as a long-term problem.
Okay. I want to keep moving on. You made
Mark.
excellent points. I think, Mark, you have a question or comment?
Just to, we do have a problem, right? I mean, we've identified that, so we need to do something about it. And I think it's our job as a trust to make that effort, whether we come up with 300,000 or we just have to do another 120, and maybe it doesn't solve the problem, but it helps. And that's, I don't know what the answer is right now, but I think we should move it forward.
Yeah, okay. Well, we have Kate Storm, and she works very closely also with Youth and Family Services.
Yep.
And I think, between them, they can start this process of trying to ascertain what kind of resources would be needed longer term. Okay, moving on. Project updates on the down payment assistance program.
That's stuck
Anything
on my
new?
desk.
I know,
We're
it's
still working
stuck.
on the legal
Yeah.
stuff.
Ba-
Becoming a lender is a little more complex
Right.
than we scoped. So again, over the next couple weeks, hoping to have drafts back and forth with council
With counsel on that, yeah.
that we can work on.
Okay. The 3 Baylor Avenue, we have work being done. The footings are in. I don't know if the slab's down.
They poured the frost wall.
Yes, I know they did
That's
that.
finished. I don't know if they've done. I don't think they've done
and-
the slab yet. But
Yeah,
that's a
I
big
did
sign.
communicate with the developer, Mark O'Hagan, and just because one of the neighbors, the trees are still sort of over their property, although they have the right to trim them as good citizens. We, I've talked to Mark, and he has assured me that those will be taken care of in the short term. With that, the other thing was and thank you, Alan, there was some questions on the hookup for the sewer. Okay, the permits and everything have, in the past, all been waived per the select board agreement way back when. This was the 10K actual hookup fee that would go DPW or whoever, but we found that that has also been granted, if you will, so that they are now, I think it was the company, I'm forgetting it, the name of the company that's actually doing the trenching and the hookup and things like that. So they're filling out the forms, because they still have to fill out the forms for the hookup and stuff like that. So that's on the way. Anything else, Kristen, you've heard, or any?
Just the update from Mark about the status of the construction. And it looks like by the end of
Can you talk into the microphone so
yeah.
the folks at home? And
the only other thing in his Mark's email to this, did he include? He sent an email to me to give an update on the construction status. And like you said, the foundation work was done. That was approved April 3rd. And then the next steps would be the framing, which he expects to happen probably by the end of April.
Okay,
so
good.
that'll be good because people.
So he
will
just
see it.
wanted, he was checking on the inspection? No.
He was just giving me an update.
Oh, okay.
And I noticed that we recently did a foundation inspection that got approved on April 3rd.
Good. Great.
I,
Slow but sure.
the horse may be out of the barn, but do we want to do a ceremonial groundbreaking? Or we could do a topping off. We could wait at this point to topping
Should we
off
wait
with
for
a-
the snow to melt? No.
We could do
So
it.
are we, the trust, going to sponsor
Well, we're
a
subsidized.
groundbreaking ceremony, or is Mark going to do that, or what's our thoughts?
I don't think the developer has any plans. We did talk about getting a sign. I did reach out looking around. There is a company in town that we probably are all familiar with. That's an office supply store that does do banners. You can get like 2x6, 3x6, 2x8s, whatever. If we can come up with a design, I mean, they want
Okay, I can do that.
a design. Anybody have graphic skills here?
I have access to graphic skills.
If you have access.
I failed cut and paste in
You know,
kindergarten, but I have
it-
access to graphic skills.
If we can do a generic
Yeah.
banner, coming
Project funded
soon,
product.
another project from Westborough,
yeah.
you get the idea. If we can do that, I can work with you a little bit and, just, for signing and doing the paperwork to have it done. And I think they can do it pretty quickly.
Okay.
All right, I'll talk to you afterwards, okay? Moving on, we have the Lyman Street. I don't have anything new
No, I
on
mean-
that. I think we're,
Town council
Is
sent our
blessed.
last set of revisions to the developer. We're waiting to hear back from his council and his lender's council. Similar with Connector Road.
right, Tyler has that.
Yeah.
I saw, we
Yeah.
just got the last red line well, I thought they sent it.
They sent it and said, hold on,
Yesterday.
we're waiting for one more thing, so
Okay, yeah, but
We're-
I saw that yesterday.
we'll see that wrap up.
so-
And just for broader context for
Yeah,
people
yeah,
watching,
yeah.
these being our first subsidies of this nature, there's been a lot of back and forth. It makes sense. We're gonna come out of this with a really good template for the future, where in the future, we wouldn't need to make all these changes because we've learned in the process about mortgagee requirements as far as subordination and rights and what happens if the developer goes bankrupt and who's protected and all, and how does it, what happens with it. So we worked out a lot of the potential glitches. So it's been worthwhile to take the time to make that
Right,
happen.
and this is where we're buying up to the 25%.
Right. No, I'm familiar with
Yeah,
that.
you're familiar with that. Okay. All right, next thing we have is, and we're right on schedule, is approval of minutes. We left that because we had some guests coming in. I've reviewed them. I didn't see anything. Anyone else have any comments on the minutes?
Nope. They look
From-
awesome. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
What?
I said they look awesome.
Oh, they
Thank
look
you.
awesome.
Thank you, Kristen.
Okay. So they're at the back of the packet, and these are the minutes from March 14th. And anybody else have any comments? I'd take a motion to
Move we approve the minutes
accept
as
the mo-
submitted.
Okay.
Second?
Okay. When we do a roll call, Sarah, you start out.
Rundell, yes.
Edinburgh, yes?
Bain, yes.
Roush, yes.
Silverberg, yes.
You can't vote because you weren't here. No.
Oh, I can.
He can vote. You
I
can
can
vote.
vote.
All right. Herrera.
I'm going to vote no. just
Correct,
'cause
yes.
it's-
Vote no. All right, we have six to six. All right, good. All right, we did that. At the very back of your book, I have the third quarter financials done. Basically, bottom line is that we have, and this includes Rockland Trust numbers, which I got at end of year, and expenses year to date, so we're completely caught up with all our numbers. The balance we have is 2.8 million in total, but we have a encumbrance particularly with Lyman Street and the home borrow program, as well as the 3 Baylor subsidy of 1.6. So that or 1.1, and so that leaves us about 1.6 million in available unencumbered funds. The yellow line.
We need to add 25 connector to the encumbered funds,
Right, if we,
because we've already voted to do that.
right, and that would be,
630.
yeah, we'll get that number, we'll get it at the end. The only thing that is not in here is they have not moved the 201,000, et cetera, that was appropriated from stabilization over to the trust. And I'm going to send a note to our accountant, Allison, to please move that over, just so that we have as up-to-date numbers as possible. And that's about it. Any questions on the, there's backup, obviously on the pages where we've spent things per budget on the various projects we're working on the second, third page. So we're in good shape. I mean, we just want to make sure that, we're keeping an eye on this, especially on the percentage commitment of our assets, which we have down below. So we're in good shape at that point. Okay. Hearing no questions.
So we just
Yep,
need
go
to,
ahead.
the amount for 25 connector road is $360,000.
So 360, we'll put that in. So
So that
that'll
lowers the
bring us
available
to
funds to
1 point. Yeah, that'll bring us down to 1.3 million available.
Yep.
Okay. 360. Yeah, let me just make a note of that. Issues and correspondence. Anybody have something? Hank?
We received, like, yesterday, today, the Phase 1 environmentals for High Street and Beach Street. I had reviewed the preliminaries. There's no unexpected potential risk of environmental issues on those sites. Beach Street, it's gonna be expensive to tear the building down because it's gonna require a lot of environmental remediation. Other than that, nothing surprising. I will provide those reports to Kristen, and she can put them out there. They're like 120-page, 90% boilerplate, but you're welcome to
We
read them.
pay by the page.
No, fixed fee. It's
Okay.
just-
Okay, cool.
All right.
Good news.
Yeah, that is good news. We had a little concern at one point, but, just not a problem, and that's about it. Anybody else? Correspondence? All right, I have a couple of things. The 3112 Townsend Boulevard, which is an affordable unit, had the current owner, decided they wanted to sell that. EOHLC was notified, et cetera, et cetera. What the town has is the right of refusal to purchase the property if it is not sold at if they cannot find an affordable buyer within 90 days. On April 8th, the select board did vote in favor for the town, and that would come down to the trust to purchase that at the affordable price, so that we can keep it and continue the marketing of that. I haven't heard anything more from MCO on that, the status, but I assume that it's going to go fast. But
Kristen, can you check in with
yeah,
Maureen?
Yeah.
At MCO and just say,
yeah, just Maureen O'Hagan.
That Ed had drafted, that the trust wanted to accept that, and then I was gonna add that the select board voted.
To authorize the
Yeah,
trust
if you
to do
can
so.
do all that and just get a
And then
status.
get a status,
Yeah.
yeah, because I had told her that you wanted to be involved if possible in the marketing, like
yeah,
helping
if they
promote
can,
it.
if they can send us the marketing materials, we can get it posted on our site and have the town post it.
That's actually all available on the MCO housing.
Yep,
website.
Yeah,
it's all on
yeah.
your website.
Yep.
So,
Okay, another thing, just minor thing, next week, I was approached a week or so ago by a member of the journalism class at Westborough High School, who thought that a story about the Westborough Affordable Housing Trust would make a great article, and they wondered if they could interview me, and I said absolutely. So next, I think it's Wednesday, they're going to do a brief interview. I've actually even been given the questions ahead of time. So, and it's like, what's the goal of the thing? And I pointed them to all the things, and also the 01581 interview that Shelby hosted a couple months ago with us. So they should have a good background on that. But, you know, once again, we have that going. Last on issues is that I've been in discussions with Sarah, and number of life events have made her decide to step down, effective right after this meeting, or effective as soon as I get the email from you. And I just want to really thank her for all the work she's done, you know, with us. She's brought her view from a legal mind, as well as the work she did with CPA, getting that sort of up and running. And we do need a new liaison to CPA, and we can talk about that at a future meeting with that. Anything you'd like to say, Sarah?
I do want to say thank you to everyone for the mentoring, for the incredible work that everyone's doing. It's been amazing for me to be part of this organization for the last, I guess, year and a half or so. And it's astonishing that such a small group could have such a large impact on so many homes across the community. It's been an extraordinary experience. And it's given me an opportunity, both personally and professionally, to connect with fantastic people in Boston, at my employer, across the board. I have so much respect for the sheer number of projects and the courage and bravery to embrace any number of issues, whether it be mortgages or drafting bylaws or whatever it might be, environmental issues, whatever it might be. Seems to be endless courage and bravery to jump into those gray areas or troubling issues without hesitation. I thank you so much for letting me be part of this, and I applaud the work you do. And if there's anything I can do to support the trust on an ongoing basis, please know it'd be an absolute honor.
Okay. Thank you so much.
you so much.
Okay, given that we're ahead of schedule, actually, at 10:17, so I will entertain a motion for adjournment.
Move to adjourn?
Second.
Okay, and roll call.
Rendell, yes.
Edinburgh, yes.
Bain, yes.
Rouse, yes.
Silverberg, yes.
And Herrera? Steve? Steve, do you want to vote for adjournment? We need a roll call vote. Oh, he hung up, which I think I saw his hand just before he went off. Okay, so you can record it as 606. So thank you, Westborough TV, very much.
Thank you.